What's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Holly and this is my booktube channel. We talk about all things reading and books and sometimes even coffee. I'm drinking the Kicking Horse Ola blend still today, but I thought since it's almost Valentine's Day, you might enjoy a Valentine's coffee. So today I'm going to recommend Bones Coffee in their red velvet flavor. The packaging is amazing, very Valentine-esque, and the flavor is fantastic as well. So check it out if you haven't tried them before. They're really worth it. For today's video, we're kind of doing a little bit of a mismatch of not only the books that I read in a recent readathon, but a kind of mini Barnes & Noble book haul. Recently, I participated in the X's and Os Readathon. It was kind of a Valentine's Day themed readathon where you had basically two different teams. You had a Team X and a Team O, and each team had different reading prompts. The team color for Team X was red and the team color for Team O was pink, and I don't own a ton of pink clothing. I don't even own a ton of red clothing, but I knew that I had this awesome red Bon Jovi t-shirt that says "You Give Love a Bad Name," and I thought, perfect, guess I'm Team X. The reading prompts for Team X were a book with forced proximity, a book with red on the cover, and a book with a word from the Team X candy hearts. They had candy hearts with different sayings on them, and Team X had certain ones, and the object was to try to find a book with one or more of those words in the title. The Team X hearts were swipe left, bite me, no, go away, and can you not? So for the first reading prompt, the one with forced proximity, I think the whole object was to try to find a romance book where they are forced into one location together and end up falling in love, all those things, but y'all know me, you know where my brain goes, so I picked No Exit by Taylor Adams. Needless to say, this is not a romance novel, but it does have forced proximity. You have these four people who, for one reason or another, all get stuck at the same rest stop during a winter storm. You're following the main character, Darby, and she is on her way home from college. She goes to college in Colorado, and she's on her way home to go see her mother, who happens to be dying. These are not spoilers. All of this is on the back. And she eventually can't go any further. Her little car just isn't going to make it through the winter storm. She pulls into this rest stop and there's a few people already there, and essentially she starts figuring out that something is going very wrong with this situation. She goes outside to make a phone call or try to get some sort of signal, and as she's walking back inside, she notices in one of the vans parked outside there's a little girl inside. So naturally, she's freaking out, right? She sees this little girl trapped in a cage in a van, and again, this is all in the back, not a spoiler, and she's trying to figure out, what in the world am I gonna do? One of the people that I am stuck here with has a little girl trapped in a van. So essentially, the entire book is her trapped with these people, no cell phone signal, the roads are impassable to where authorities are having trouble getting through, she's not able to make calls out, and she's figured out, I am the only chance this little girl has right now. And I won't say much more than that because I don't want to give it away, but this had me on the edge of my seat. I read this so fast, tore through it, could not wait to see what happened, and just when I thought I had it figured out, Taylor Adams threw in another twist after twist, and it was so fun. I kept talking to my husband about it, and he wasn't even reading it, and he was saying, "What's happening now?" So it was just this action-packed, wild ride, just had your heart pounding, and it of course fits the close proximity theme, so I thought that was a great one and I really enjoyed it for this readathon. Also, it fit one of the other prompts as well, where you had to pick a word that was in one of your team's candy hearts, and it has the word no on it, which was one of the candy heart themes, so I killed two birds with one stone with this book. And the last prompt was to, of course, find a book with red on the cover, and I thought, you know what, this is an X's and O's Valentine's Day themed readathon. I'm gonna challenge myself to read a romance book. And I did, and I lived to tell the tale. I read Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson. This was not bad, y'all. I'm not a romance reader. I tend to eye roll a lot and I can't get through the cheese, but this was not bad, and it was a really good storyline. Essentially, you're following Phoebe. She is a doctoral student working on her thesis, and her father has died, so she and her brother are trying to figure out what to do with his house and get it sold on the market. And she stays there for the summer to not only sort through all of that and deal with the house, but to work on her thesis. Little does she know, there's someone living next door, and the very first night she gets there, he kind of creeps up on her in the shadows and scares the crap out of her, and so she's automatically very suspicious of him, and she's obsessed with true crime, and that's kind of what her thesis is about, so she's already hyper alert to all things serial killer, so she starts suspecting this guy and thinks he could be a serial killer. She keeps seeing him do really suspicious things, like she sees him go out one night and he has some sort of wet liquid all over him, and he pulls a drop cloth out of his car and he's acting really strange, and she's hearing weird noises, so this whole time she's thinking, oh my god, I'm living next door to a serial killer. But as it goes, it's a romance book, so you can probably imagine, based on the back of the book, I think the tagline was that maybe he is something much scarier, a genuinely nice guy that can pierce her armor and something to that effect. So you can imagine he's probably not a serial killer, but they end up falling in love, and it's kind of their whole story. And that's not a spoiler, it's a romance book. You know where this is going. And it wasn't bad. I was entertained. I really liked the main character. I thought she was funny and sarcastic, and I loved that she was paranoid that her neighbor was a serial killer, so it was an entertaining story. I did have trouble getting through the smut. I just don't understand why it's necessary in books. I feel so awkward reading it. I'm like, man, I shouldn't be here. This is somebody's very private moment, and I'm in it, and I just don't feel right about it. But, you know, I can't really say that too much because Stephen King, he puts some spice in his books and I don't complain about that. So maybe it's just, you know, I need to be fair, and this is a romance book and people like a little spice in it, and that's fine. Just some of the details she gave, I was like, oh, I'm blushing. My goodness. But all in all, it was a good story. I enjoyed it. I feel like I could have picked up a way worse romance book, and this one was very entertaining. So if you're into romance and you kind of like snarky main characters, obsessed with true crime, you might enjoy this one. And even I enjoyed it. My horror thriller heart had a good time and made it through. So there you have it. That is Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson. And the third book that I read for this readathon didn't really fit any of the prompts, but I felt like it had a big romance element to it, and it was part of my February TBR anyway, so I thought this is the good time to read it. And that is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. This one I think was published in 2019, and it was a worldwide sensation. I think it sold like 15 million copies all over the world. It's been turned into a movie, which I hear is really good, and I can definitely see why people love this book so much. I found myself getting so wrapped up in the scenery and the imagery and the characters, and it was just such a unique story that I've really never read before. You're following Kaya Clark, and she's kind of nicknamed the Marsh Girl because she lives in the marshes of North Carolina and has basically survived there most of her life by herself. Her family kind of all ran out on her for various reasons, and she's had to figure it out all on her own. And it's eventually found out that some sort of star in town, he was like a football star and kind of the golden boy of town, he's found dead, and everyone is starting to suspect her for reasons I won't go into because it kind of spoils it, but everyone suspects her of his murder. And what I didn't know about this book that I was really excited to find out is that this is kind of a legal thriller, because of course she's accused of this murder and she's put on trial for this murder. So towards the end of the book you get the entire account of her trial, and it really dives into each day of the trial and what the attorneys are doing and how she's feeling and what the jury's doing. So you really get that courtroom thriller aspect of it, which of course I love, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see that that was a part of this book. I thought it was just going to be kind of a mystery thriller with romance sprinkled in, but it ended up being a legal thriller, and I absolutely loved it. I thought the romance was so tastefully done. I thought it was just a beautiful story, and the end shocked me. I obviously won't tell you what it is because that spoils it, but if you've read it, you know. I was stunned. My jaw dropped. When it clicked into place what had happened, the book went up a ton of stars. I know you can only give 5, but I gave this one absolutely 5 stars, and I don't know if I want to watch the movie or not because I've heard that the ending's a little different and some people didn't really like how the movie changed that ending that I'm talking about. So I don't know if I want to watch it. My mom says it's good, so maybe I'll give it a shot, but I definitely loved the book. If you haven't already read it, it's worth your time. Go pick it up. That is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. So the next several books that I have for you are books that I picked up at Barnes & Noble. I think I've mentioned in previous videos that I had the opportunity to travel to Houston, Texas recently and go to Barnes & Noble, so I thought I would share the books that I got at Barnes & Noble. Like I said, we don't have a Barnes & Noble here. It's a small town, and I think you probably have to have a certain population to get a Barnes & Noble, so any chance I get when I go to a bigger city, I go to Barnes & Noble and pick up a few books. The first book that I picked up is one that I've been trying to get my hands on, and they had 1 copy left, and that is A Vinyl Resting Place by Olivia Black. This one is a cozy mystery that I think talked about in previous videos, but I've been so excited to get my hands on it. Essentially, it's a cozy mystery, so a very lighthearted murder whodunit is typically what all cozy mysteries are, and this one is set in Texas, which I love. Here in Texas, that is my home state, so I love when books are set in a location that I'm familiar with. It also takes place in this vinyl record shop that is also a coffee shop. So you've got this amazing environment where there are not only vinyl records being sold, but coffee as well, and that just sounds like heaven to me. I love vinyl records, I love rock and roll, I love coffee, and I love books, so this just sounds like a world that I can settle into and love from start to finish. So I'm not really sure what it's about. I think the premise is that someone that owns the shop, someone ends up dead in their storeroom or their storage room, and their uncle simultaneously goes missing. He's like on the run, and so he's obviously being suspected of this murder, and the owner of the store is thinking, what in the world is going on? Like, how did this person die, and why is my uncle on the run, and what is going on? So it's all about, you know, that kind of mystery and trying to figure out who committed this murder. Was it their uncle? Was it somebody else? They don't know. And all in all, I'm here for it. I cannot wait to get to A Vinyl Resting Place by Olivia Black. This next book caught my eye because I think I've seen some people talking about it, and the cover was just so cool that I had to pick it up, and that is The Fireman by Joe Hill. I think Joe Hill is a pretty well-known author in the horror genre, and I think this one is a pretty well-known story as well. From what I understand, it's kind of a maybe post-apocalyptic world. I don't want to say apocalypse, but I think there's like this virus that has started to spread, and essentially once it gets inside someone, that person is a ticking time bomb, and I mean that literally, because eventually once the virus has gone throughout their body, they explode into flames. So basically the whole world is going up in flames, literally, because people everywhere are getting this virus and bursting into flames, and buildings are burning down, and it's just this horrible world everyone's living in. And I believe your main character is a woman who was a nurse, and now she's kind of out of a job because all the patients that were at her hospital eventually exploded into flames and burnt down the hospital. And not only is she a nurse, but she is pregnant with her child, and I believe she finds out that she has the virus. So not only is she worried about herself, but she's worried about her unborn child and having this virus. And she knows it's only a matter of time before she too bursts into flames, and she's trying to figure out if there's anything she can do to stop this thing. Now, the reason the book is called The Fireman is because there is a man going around that is being nicknamed the Fireman because he not only walks around in a yellow bunker gear, which that's what firemen call their big jackets that they wear. My husband's a fireman, so I'm using the term bunker gear, but essentially he walks around in bunker gear. I don't know if he was a former fireman or not, but he has the virus too, but he has figured out a way to control it within him. So he has been the only person not to burst into flames after contracting this virus. And she hears about him and wants to figure out how he's doing it because she wants to save herself and her child. And that's all on the back of the book. That's all I really know. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but I think the fireman is violent in some way. I think that's where maybe the horror aspect comes in. I'm not really sure, but I'm here for it. It seems like an awesome book, so I can't wait to read The Fireman by Joe Hill. And y'all know me, I couldn't go to Barnes & Noble without getting another Stephen King book, so I picked up Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. The reason I picked this up is because I'm aware that he is coming out, he being Stephen King, is coming out with a book called Holly later this year, which, of course, a book that is titled with my name, even spelled the same, catches my attention. But I was talking to some people on Instagram and they said, no, don't read Holly first. You need to go back and you need to read the Mr. Mercedes trilogy or you're going to be totally lost, because I guess Holly is one of the characters in the Mr. Mercedes Bill Hodges trilogy. So I'm glad they gave me that bit of information and advice. I didn't want to be lost, so I went and picked up the first in the Bill Hodges trilogy, Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. And the last book that I picked up at Barnes & Noble, trust me, I could have bought a lot more, but this was around the time that Texas got hit with a winter storm and I was busy looking at books and my husband came over kind of hurriedly and said, whatever books you have, we need to buy them and go. They're already closing the highways. We're not going to be able to get home if we don't leave now. So I had very limited time to pick up books, which is probably a good thing for my wallet. But the last book that I was able to grab is The Ritual by Adam Neville. This is actually a movie. My husband and I watched the movie some time ago, not knowing what it was or anything about it. It was just a random Netflix pick. And we loved the movie. I think it's probably kind of a B movie, but we loved it. We were sitting there at the end screaming out loud, just totally into it. And since then we've recommended it to some friends. I think my husband even recommended it to one of his firefighter buddies, and that guy watched it at the fire station and my husband could hear him screaming from the next room. So obviously it's a freaky kind of horror novel, and when I found out it was a book as well, I really wanted to pick it up. And this one actually is one that I'm currently reading. You can see my bookmark. I was having trouble deciding what to read after I read Where the Crawdads Sing, so my husband gave me a little help with that. I picked 5 books that I kind of had my eye on and told him, all right, you pick which book I'm gonna read next.
Haunted? Obviously Haunted. I've seen that one. An Exorcism. This is legal thriller, you said?
Mm-hmm.
And then Stephen King, which is also, I'm seeing a theme here.
Well, that Stephen King's more, well, I feel like it's
Mr. Mercedes.
maybe, might be sort of crime fiction. I don't know. I have to read that.
So, I'm gonna go, this was my first cutaway.
Like elimination?
Elimination, because I'm not an exorcism guy. I'm gonna have to go, I'm gonna have to take off Pelican Brief. We got a same kind of theme running here. I've seen the movie, it's terrifying. I don't know anything about this one, and this one you said he bought a house in Texas and it's haunted?
I don't think he bought it. I think he got a job there.
Oh, you got a job there. Okay, I'm gonna pull this one off.
It's my fate.
Okay.
What are you crying about? I'm the nervous one.
Now you gotta do a sniff check. Ooh, the ritual's definitely better on that end. The cover of the ritual's better. When's the last time you read a Stephen King?
Just last month, I read Dreamcatcher.
Okay, well, the ritual is now your book of choice, or book of my choice,
I'm not able to sleep.
because I've seen it and it's terrifying, and I want to watch you read it. And then maybe I will.
All right, there it is. Next book.
As you can see from that short little clip, he picked The Ritual. So far it is creepy and atmospheric and very much like the movie in a great way. So I'm loving it. I'll probably tear through it pretty quick, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's essentially about these friends that they've been friends forever, since college, and they all get together to go on a trip and go hiking through the mountains, and eventually they get lost. They try to take a shortcut and get lost. Why people in horror novels think taking a shortcut is a good idea, I'll never understand. It never ends well. We all know this. So anyway, they take the shortcut, things go horribly wrong. They're in this creepy, evil forest, and they start encountering paganistic symbols and, you know, statues where you can tell rituals are being performed, and it gets creepier and creepier. And I won't spoil too much, but even now talking about it, I'm getting chills. The author does a really good job of just making you feel like you're there and making chills run down your spine. So if you are not familiar with The Ritual, pick it up. I think you'll love it. I'm not even finished with it and I'm already loving it. So I'm sure we'll see this one in my February wrap-ups. And yeah, there you have it. That is The Ritual by Adam Neville. So there you have it. Those are the books that I read in the X's and Os Readathon this month, and the books that I picked up at Barnes & Noble. I hope y'all are having a great day. I hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day, whether you're spending it alone with your dog or your cat, or you're spending it with a loved one. I hope you feel loved. I hope you read books that you love, and I will see y'all in a future video. Thanks for watching.